Welcome to 13 Degrees of Screams,
where we scream so you don't scream.
We're your host, Alex.
And Stephanie.
And this week, we try to convert a crazy man in Heretic.
Before we get started, make sure you subscribe and click the bell to be notified when we post new episodes.
Heretic is a 2024 American horror film written and directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. It stars Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East as two Mormon missionaries who attempt to convert a man who is more dangerous than he seems. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 91% with a critical consensus that states, Hugh Grant has infectious fun playing against type in Heretic, a religious horror that preaches the gospel of cerebral chills over cheap shocks. It also has a 76% audience score.
Two missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton, arrive at the home of a middle-aged man, Mr. Reed, hoping to convert him to their church. The young women are not supposed to be in the presence of a man without another woman present, but Mr. Reed assures them that his wife is preparing a blueberry pie in the other room. Mr. Reed starts a lively religious debate and makes several uncomfortable comments regarding the nature of their faith and upbringing, but ultimately the discussion remains friendly. However, things quickly take a dark turn as the missionaries realize there's a blueberry pie-scented candle in the room, and they are now trapped inside with no phone signal with the front door locked from the inside. Mr. Reed begins to challenge their faith with unsettling philosophical monologues and dangerous games, leading the missionaries into a terrifying ordeal where they will have to prove their faith. We are about to get into major spoilers for the rest of the film. If you would like to avoid that, please skip to minute 28 and 4 seconds to get to our ratings. They follow Reed to a study where he delivers a menacing lecture claiming that all religions are simply variations of one another and asserting that he has discovered the only true religion. The girls are informed that the front door is latched and will not open till morning. So, he brings out like all of these games and he's like, have you ever played Monopoly? And sometimes you think that you're talking about something with him and then he's like, but wait, let's go back to this.
Yeah.
and in a moment, and I have this whole separate thing we can go into. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he brings out all these different versions of Monopoly and says that Monopoly was basically stolen from this woman that created, I forget what the original version was called.
It's like renting something.
Yeah, or no, landlord something.
Landlord, yeah. It had to do with yeah.
So like somebody stole her idea and they made a Monopoly and it became the popular one. And then there's like the more futuristic kind of one somewhere and all these different variations. He also did the same thing with Creep being a ripoff of a song by the Hollies. So he had them sitting in his little parlor room saying that like we're waiting for his wife to make this pie, and he brings out Cokes for them and they refuse, but I felt like if they had taken a sip he would have been like, now is that Coke or Pepsi?
Right. They're just iterations of each other.
Right.
But at that point he didn't get into his whole spiels yet until they were in the back room. But when I tell you, so the first, I swear, half of this movie is just dialogue in two rooms, monologuing and going. And I was so stressed because they walk in and yeah, he's like, you should not be in here.
He's just given a weird vibe like the whole time. Like even when he answers the door, they're like, you said that you were interested in our church, and he was like, yeah, I was. Yes. And I'm like, that's too many yeses.
Yeah.
Red flag, goodbye.
Okay, well, here's a little pamphlet. Call us later. Bye.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, and then they go in before seeing the wife. I'm like, no, don't do it. And then it just increasingly gets more and more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then the door's locked. And then they go further into the house. And then it's all downhill from there.
Yeah, like a lot of the house is set up like on a timer for like the lights and stuff like that. Like even the lights in the main room go off at one point, and he was like, oh, sorry about that. And he like clicks it back and it's like on a timer. So it only like stays on for 15 increments at a time. So I don't know what this man be doing.
That's not normal. What are we doing here?
Yeah. And I guess the same thing with the door. It's on a timer or whatever. That's what he claims.
Sure.
So they're in this back room of his house and there's multiple doors, and he's like, but you guys can go out the back of the house. You saw my house. There's a back of a house like back there. And they're like, cool, which door? Because there's two doors in front of them. And he's like, oh, I won't affect your decision.
Yeah, which one do you want?
And they keep on coming back to, like, can you help us? Or can you bring your wife out and have her tell us which door to go out or whatever? And he was like, are we really going to keep pretending that there's a wife?
Yeah, because you said there was.
Yes. So he wants them to make a choice of either door that will lead to the back of his house to go out, and says the front door will not open till morning. And they try. There's like no latch or anything on it. So, and all the windows are very small in the front room where they can't get out. So it's either keep going forward or, I kind of think, he's weird, but all you're doing is talking to him. Like, I can wait him out till morning.
Yeah, I'll wait. I'll just go sit.
Yeah, just let me know when the front door is going to open. I'll be here.
Right. And I was like, you two could take him. Like, you could both jump him.
For sure.
Like,
yeah, they're really just letting him, like, overpower the situation. But if they would have cornered him and made him make a choice, maybe.
Yeah. Also, I'm not convinced that that door would have unlocked anyways. I don't think it, like, is it on a timer or do you just say it's on a timer,
Yeah. Well, he unlocks it at one point. It's just hidden on like, some sort of outlet. But either way, force him to tell you.
Exactly.
Reed presents them with a choice of 2 doors to exit the house, one of those who still believe in God and one of those who don't. So yeah, he marks them with disbelief and belief. And after going through this whole spiel of the different board games and stuff like that, he's like referring it back to religion and how religion is just one iteration of another bleeding into each other. They all like cycle back. Like he gives like all these similar comparisons of different religions having like a savior born before even Christ was even mentioned or brought up. So, and how like Judaism started all of that, and then it's just big long cycle of all these different ones. And does it really matter? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because they were saying like how Judaism was the original, and so like why is that one has less followers and stuff? And I was like, marketing. I was watching it with Nick. I was like, marketing, and then he literally said that. He's like, and then I don't know if this is at this point, but then the girls start challenging him eventually, which is like so cool. But she's like, it doesn't take into consideration the Holocaust,
right?
And stuff
that
like
was one of Barnes' things too. Like she starts like challenging his assertions, like you're saying all of these religions are similar, but like that deity has a goat's head. Like that's not the same thing at all.
Right? Yeah, I have actually like somewhat of a personal story about that. I guess when I first like kind of realized this, it wasn't like until college, to be honest, but I had a humanities class and I was reading an old ancient text. It was like the first book or something, and I think it was before the Bible, and part of the story was the Great Flood.
Oh.
I was like, wait a minute.
Huh.
Interesting. So like I had something similar happen. I was like, oh
yeah,
what are the odds?
Right.
So,
and like all together, like even though he's not threatening, he is just kind of pushing all these different assertions about all these religions and stuff like that. It's still uncomfortable because, like, I don't know, in general, most of the time, if someone wants to talk to me about religion, I'm going to be uncomfortable because it's just not I'm glad for you if you have a religious belief. It's just not my way.
Yeah, it's like also like I'd never want to like offend anyone, like really ever. Like I try not to, and there's so many different religions and people believe in so many different things that like I don't want to like misspeak or like say something that what I'm saying. Like it's just like a hard topic without like. Because it's a belief. It's not like an opinion. It's not like I think. It's like a belief,
right? Yeah.
Well, not even that. It's just like these, like depending on whatever religion you follow, like you believe that to be the absolute truth,
right?
So it's like hard to like debate about that,
Right. And then typically, too, when people talk to you about religion, it is usually almost like a marketing tactic or something like, you should believe what I believe because I know better. So, and you don't have anything, or, or you're believing this, but then there's this. And that's kind of like this whole premise going back and forth of But like, honestly, it's tense, even though like he's not really threatening yet.
Yeah, right?
Aside from locking them in, that's obviously no good. But
Yeah.
so Barnes ultimately chooses the belief door because, she thinks it's just to challenge whatever he's putting forward. So to prove that they believe and, prove that they still have their faith. So they choose the belief door, but find that both doors lead to the same dungeon. So,
I knew that. I knew it. I was like, those go to the same place. Like,
right, for
there's
sure.
no illusion of choice. I'm like, this is not.
And like they even say like both of these lead to a basement. This is not outside. And he's like, yeah, you saw my house was on a hill though. You have to go down No.
No, sir. Show me your wife and then I'll believe you.
Yeah, right. A decrepit woman appears, consumes a poisoned pie, and dies. Reed declares that she is a prophet of God and that the girls will witness her resurrection. A church elder arrives searching for the girls but leaves without hearing their screams. Paxton notices that the position of the prophet has changed, but Barnes dismisses her. So as they're like on the floor searching for like another way out, or, they got some matches and they're trying to like light their coat on fire. So then church elder will see like smoke coming. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you guys are so deep in there. There's no way it'll see it in time. He'll see it in time.
Right. And then we have this whole like prophet thing. And I'm like, wait, so this whole time you're saying like all religion's bullshit, blah, 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 blah. And now all of a sudden you have a prophet, a God. Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. You can't. What are you doing here, sir?
Right.
Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah. So she just like appears out of nowhere behind them and she is resurrected and describes the afterlife and is escorted from the room by Mr. Reed. Barnes challenges the prophet's description, noting its similarity to common hallucinations from a near-death experience, as she was clinically dead from an E. coli-laced Taco Bell when she was a child.
I love that little part, because before they were talking about
fast food. That was another one of their, like, back and forth, like, but what came first? Like, McDonald's, which is better, Burger King. Like... Yeah.
And they're like, we don't talk about Taco Bell. I'm like, I haven't had Taco Bell.
We got a history.
Right, and now we know. So, yeah. That was fun.
When Barnes signals Paxton to attack Reed, he slashes Barnes' throat and claims that she will also resurrect. And I definitely got the vibes that Barnes was our final girl. Like if one of them's not going to make it out kind of thing. Because Paxton is more... Not as confident, more, I would say, with the youth and stuff like that. Like, because, like, he keeps on, like, citing all of these, like, great quotes and stuff like that people have used over and over again. Mm-hmm. Like, what's the famous Spider-Man quote?
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, and he cites like where it actually comes from, and she's like, Spider-Man, and he's like, no, dumbass.
Yeah, but if you think about it, that also ties in with the whole iteration thing.
Yeah,
the whole iteration thing. So that was really cool.
Yes. And Barnes seems like very like with it, like religiously, and like with all these things that he's citing, it seems.
Yeah, she's like more knowledgeable, but it seemed like she kind of. So Paxton seemed more like a believer, and then you could kind of get a glimpse of Barnes seemed a little like questioning, like at the beginning. Yeah. Like he would say things and she'd kind of just stay quiet, and you could kind of see like a look in her
like
face,
the doubt. Yeah, which was why I was like, she's going to be the one that's going to go to the end because she already is questioning it. Mm-hmm. And Paxton, like they even give a little brief backstory on each of their lives and stuff too. Paxton was like born into it, family of 8 children. Mm-hmm. Like they've always believed that was just that. But Barnes was born to a convert, and like they had looked at other churches and stuff like that before they came to LDS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah. As Barnes bleeds out, Reed removes a metal object from her arm, claiming it is a microchip that proves Barnes was not real and that the world is a simulation. And I'm like, this man is so knowledgeable, but he sees a woman's birth control implant and thinks that's a microchip?
Right. And I feel like that was the first moment I was kind of like, all right, this guy's like, he knows that's not a microchip. Like, come on.
He's just making another statement to see what she'll believe. Yeah.
Yeah, that, and to, once we get to the end and the whole, like, premise of what's happening, you're like, okay.
Right.
Like, something more is happening here.
Right. So Paxton recognizes the object as a contraceptive implant and realizes that everything was orchestrated by Reed. While the girls were distracted by the elder's arrival, a second woman hid the prophet's corpse, took her place, and delivered the afterlife description as scripted by Reed, adding an unplanned comment to warn them it's not real. Because I'm assuming, like, eventually everyone that he gets trapped in his house becomes a prophet of God.
Yeah. But, like, also, how many times does this happen? Like, how many people are coming to his house?
Yeah. He must, everybody that stops him on the street to talk about religion, he's like, yeah, you can come. You just come right over.
Have you been caught yet, sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Strange. Okay, but I will inject the fact, though, too. In, like, these bigger religions, too, I would assume that if somebody goes missing in, like, this kind of form, especially in, like, older school religions, like older school beliefs, like of LDS as well, I wonder if, like, they go missing, it's just like them leaving the faith. Like, that's how they take it.
I mean, maybe. Who knows? I don't know how that would work, but they don't care. They're
like lost their way kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess screw her.
But we're not gonna... in this case.
Yeah, literally lost their way.
Right. Reed's killing of Barnes in an attempt to convince Paxton of a simulated reality was an improvisation to cover the plan going awry. Paxton discovers an underground chute in which the prophet's corpse was hidden and climbs down, with Reed promising it will show her the one true religion.
At this point, I turned to Nick and I looked at him and I was like, I swear to God, if this becomes like a devil thing again, I'm going to lose it.
Right.
I was like, I'm going to be so
if it's that he worships
angry.
The devil.
Yes, I was going to be so mad.
No. Luckily, it doesn't go to that point, but, he does have dark intentions.
Yeah.
But honestly, I just feel like you could just talk him down at this point. Like, if you just distracted him and kept on arguing the fact, like, he's not going to do anything. Like,
right. He's not going to, I mean, she doesn't know that, I guess, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, he did kill her friend at this point, yeah.
Right, like, she doesn't know what's going on, really. Like, he obviously has no qualms in killing anybody.
Right.
2 people died already, so.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, too, and I found it interesting that Paxton kept challenging him, though, because I was thinking when he killed Barnes, that was basically, like, too far. And he's like, just fuck you. So I don't want to have this discussion anymore. So I guess that's also what she could be going off of. But yeah, she keeps doing it. Paxton finds a chamber filled with emaciated women in cages, locked with the bike lock she used before entering Reed's house. She understands Reed's conclusion that the desire to control others is the root of all religions. I have to describe how she gets to this chamber, too. Like, it's behind door after door of different religions. Like, all of them are painted with whatever symbol represents them. And then there's, like, these artifacts inside of him, and then it goes deeper and deeper. And Charlie is like, I don't think he has, like, the certifications to dig this deep at this point in his house, because he's already got like 3 different basements going on.
All right, maybe we don't know his day job. Maybe he what even job would know how to do that?
Yeah,
he's a digger. He's a certified digger.
I don't know, and I think there is an interesting question for me when she mentions. I think it's Paxton, mentions how beautiful his house is. And she's like, did you build it yourself? Because he's got like this little model of it. And he's like, oh yeah, my wife did. And we already know that he doesn't have a wife. So
he might have at one point. I don't know.
Maybe.
Unlikely.
If it's the ladies.
That's what I was thinking. Because at one point at the beginning, he asks their opinion on polygamy. And I'm like, oh, is this where we're going with it?
Yeah, that these are all his wives. I'm thinking that's how he thinks of them.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe he thinks of them as like submissive, like the, not trope, but like, the submissive wife. And like,
right.
He views them like that. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Paxton stabs Reed in the neck with a letter opener, but Reed stabs her in the stomach as she tries to escape. As they bleed in the basement, Paxton prays, telling Reed that it is done to show kindness to others rather than to produce material results. So, like, Reed even, like, cites a study that, like, praying doesn't work in comparison if you ask someone to pray for somebody, and if you don't, it's that there's no difference. Like, it's just a nice gesture that you're not thinking of yourself. So it is, I don't know if I would have gone as far to pray for this man. I would have been like, I'm just kind of done with you. Reed prepares to finish her off. Barnes, who is still alive, kills Reed with a plank of wood before dying. Paxton climbs up.
Wait a minute. We cannot gloss over it like that.
This has woman been bleeding from the neck for like 3 hours.
She's up and kills Reed with this plank of wood that was shown earlier. I'm like, that's going to kill somebody. Anyway, there's a plank of wood with nails in it, and she goes, whoosh, and then she dies again. She just like lays back down.
Just long enough.
Like, okay.
I guess. But a long time for that to happen.
Right. I have questions about this, so once we wrap up the plot, I want to...
Okay, for sure. Paxton climbs out of a window, and a butterfly lands on her hand. Earlier, she expressed a desire to be reincarnated as a butterfly that appears on the hands of her loved ones. It vanishes, leaving Paxton alone in the snowy landscape.
So, question, back to what we just mentioned. Do you think that Barnes really came back to life and saved her, or Paxton was actually finished off by Reed and the rest of that was just a hallucination?
I've seen a lot of theories of that. That may be what happened. And plus, it's very close to, like, the near-death explanation, too, that we get from the prophet.
Snow.
Yeah, like a bright light, like calling of your name, but in, like, no, discernible way, dissociation. And I think the one indicator, though, is that she gets out is, like, we see her phone flash as if, like, it's picking up signal again. But I don't know if that's just in her head.
Right.
That she's safe now.
Yeah, and then they show the butterfly land on her finger. And then the very next shot, the butterfly's not actually there. I don't know if you caught that. The optimist in me likes to think that she did escape, and then
that was just Barnes telling her, she did. You're okay.
Like she did come back to life for like that split second to kill Reed.
Right.
But it makes more sense that she didn't actually make it out of there.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Reed held on for a long time too. He
should have been dead.
Yeah, both him and Barnes should have been dead. I feel like Paxton did have the most healable wound to get out of the situation with, but.
Yeah, she was stabbed like in her stomach area, and depending, could have missed vital stuff. But yeah, Reed should not have been able to make it out of that room with the cages,
right,
to kill her to begin with. But whatever.
Yes,
I was like, I really wanted at least Paxton to make it.
I know, I did too.
But I'm like, I don't know if she did.
I don't
think
know.
So.
I don't know. I would like to think so, because it's a very like pretty ending and stuff like that, with like the snowy field and the butterfly and everything. But it also feels like, this is not heaven that they were describing.
Yeah. And then I have one other question. What did you think about the whole big reveal? It was like control, and he's like, I controlled you to get to this point.
I see what they're trying to say, because, religion does have a lot of influence in the way, not trying to talk out of pocket. It's just, you're basing your belief on like what you've been told, and that's the control element. So I get it. I just don't like that it went to that, I guess. But I like this better than the whole devil made me do it situation that it could have been.
Yeah. So I didn't have an issue with the messaging of it. I just was like, when he's like, I got you to here because I controlled you. I'm like, what else were they supposed to do?
Right. You gave them
like,
no other option.
Not really. Exactly. That's control in the sense of like, you forced them, but like, it wasn't control in the sense of like, it'd be different if kind of to the door situation, like you pick a door. But they really had no choice.
Yeah,
it was control in the sense of like, I got you by the neck kind of control, but not like the slow kind of like control, but you don't know that you're being controlled kind of a thing. So I was like, the disconnect. I was like,
but I could see how it is like the forced belief because of what you're being told, like, or especially people born into religion that continue being religious throughout their lives just based off of how they're raised. And then it keeps going and going and cycling through. This is all just, this forced belief passed down, which is like the iterations that he was talking about with the different board games. And he also talks about, too, like at one point, every memory is just you recalling the last time you recalled that memory.
Right.
So you like self-edit is what he's implying,
Yeah, no, like I agree with the forced control, but my problem is a lot of times people don't realize that it's the control. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
this is like yeah, I have to go down.
She knew for certain that she was being controlled the whole time because there was no
he
other
was
choice.
Making them do these things.
Yeah,
yeah, no shit. You literally led me down these stairs. You led me down the Yeah, I know.
Right.
It wasn't this big. I get where they were trying to do, but I just felt like it kind of just.
Yeah.
Like if they did it a way to where they like almost, like I said, had more choices in where they go. And if he was then able to get them to where he wanted them, then I would have been like, okay, I get it. But like there was only one path.
Yeah. He was always leading them to there. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the only thing. Like I get the concept, but I was just like just a little bit of a miss on the whole execution of it, should I say.
Yeah. I think it's funny, too, that like his whole dissertation on religion is basically that there is no religion. So then he goes and he's like, go down there and you will find the true religion, which comes back to him being God, though, in a way, because like he's saying, I controlled the situation. I control these women. I controlled you. So that makes me God or like a prophet or whatever. So then his whole thing was there is no religion. But then when it comes to me, I'm the religion. Like,
JK, it's me. So there is, and you think it's you. So
yeah. I mean, I get the metaphor. It's all control. That's all it is. But
yeah, right. It's just like this man. What are we doing here?
Circling back.
There is or there isn't. Make up your mind.
Right.
My God.
Heretic delves deeply into the complexities of faith and the manipulation of belief systems. Reed's sinister manipulation of the young missionary's faith exemplifies how religion can be wielded as a tool for control. The film also explores the concept of reality and perception, particularly through Reed's attempts to convince Paxton that the world is a simulation, which adds an intriguing layer to the narrative. Barnes' rebellion and ultimate sacrifice highlight the resilience and strength of individuals in the face of oppressive ideologies, while Paxton's realization of the truth behind Reed's schemes underscores the importance of questioning and challenging authority. The characters' journeys are marked by acts of sacrifice in the search for redemption. Barnes' selfless act to save Paxton and Paxton's prayer to show kindness to others emphasize the redemptive power of selflessness and compassion. The film raises profound existential questions about the nature of existence, the afterlife, and the meaning of life, engaging viewers in a thought-provoking reflection on their own beliefs and perceptions.
All right, what did you have for suspense?
I had it as a 2.
Okay.
Yeah, like I thought it was tense, but a lot of it was talking. And until like the actual like killing of Barnes comes, it just feels like you could just kind of talk his ear off all night and then eventually kind of force him to let you go.
Okay.
At one point, like someone's gonna get tired. Like
okay, interesting.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh, I had it as a 3. 100%. The talking is what made it worse.
Really?
Well, it just kept going and going. And you see the characters slowly just get more and more tense and scared. And his demeanor does not change the entire time. He's also so very charismatic that it just like ramps that up. So like, yeah, it was the first half of this movie. I think they said the one scene was like 30 minutes of just like the talking.
Oh yeah.
But that just made it just turn and turn. I'm like, when is this going to end? When is the relief? When is this going to like stop?
Right. That is true. And it does keep building and building because like he'll make a point and then they'll be like, okay, we see it. We see that's an interesting insight. Thank you. Can we go? And he's like, no, let's think about this other thing. And then it just keeps going and going.
You know what it kind of reminds me of in like a normal everyday situation? It's like when you're trying to leave and you're like, you were hanging out with someone and then they just keep going and you just can't get away.
Yeah.
Because they just like keep bringing up, like, I'm leaving now. Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was like.
Yeah.
But their life depended on it this time.
Right. And Barnes brings it up too. At one point, she was like, I was waiting and waiting to see when you would make killing us our idea. Because like he wants you to agree with so many of these different points over and over again. Let's talk about this point. Let's talk about this point. And then you're kind of like, okay, let's move on. Sure. You're like giving these concessions to keep, you're hoping to end the conversation, to move on. And then no, it just keeps going further. Yeah. And it's how much more will you bend to this?
Right. Yeah. The whole movie was just extremely tense to me. So I was like, three, like 10 minutes into it. I'm like, 3.
The whole time. What did you have for atmosphere?
I gave it a 2. I would say more in the later part of the movie, once they get into like the basement area. It gets a little scary down there, but in terms of overall, I didn't find the setting too scary. It was a house and then like a basement. I will say the cold room with the cages is not okay.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like the top of the rating scale for me.
Oh, okay. I had it as a 3. I thought it was just very interesting that like every door just kind of ended up leading it back into a circle. Like it was really like a maze in some aspects of it. And I was just really curious though about like the layout of this house. Like the more deeper they went, that I was like, so do they even have a kitchen or a bathroom like on the main level of this? Or is it just a sitting room and he just keeps the timer on it and he's just hanging out and in his office and in the basement and stuff?
Yeah, I don't know, because like it's not that confusing really, because the movie takes place in front room, then they go to his office, then the basement, and then down one more layer. So it's really just those 4 areas.
Yeah.
But it makes the house seem a little bit more confusing than it really is, because it kind of wraps around on each other. When she's trying to escape, she somehow loops around. And I'm like, wait, what? Where is she?
It almost feels like, though, like if you were looking at a picture of the house, like it wouldn't be the same setup as like what it is inside. It feels almost like a big circle inside. Or, like a twisting circle, obviously, because a lot of doors just kind of open back up to where you came in before. So when you see the outside of the house, I think it's just like a small square house.
Yeah, it looks normal.
Just saying that it just didn't seem like the floor plan made sense.
What did you have for plot?
I had the plot as a 2.
Okay.
I thought that the escalation was kind of slow because, like, again, it's just like a lot of talking, going back into these different points. And while I think there is tension there, like a couple of times I was like, how much longer are we going to do this? Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, I think just because it kept on cycling back to like how everything's an iteration. And like, I get it. Like after like the first time with the Monopoly boards, I was like, everything is an iteration. And he was like, let me make 3 more points with more iterations. And I don't know.
That's interesting. Yeah, I saw criticisms of that. I was locked in. I did not.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
I didn't think that at all. I was just like, yeah, yeah. I'm stressed. Sure. Yeah, yep. You're right. Yeah, you got it. Oh my God, stop.
I don't believe in anything anymore.
Who are you people?
But yeah, what did you have it as?
I had it as a 1.
Oh, for plot?
Just because it was realistically a man kidnaps 2 women. The end kind of thing. Like at its, base storyline, that's kind of what it is. So while the subject matter was the interesting part, the distilled plot was kind of like, eh.
Yeah. I feel weird comparing it to it, but it does feel like the setup of Human Centipede. Like
I didn't see that.
I've never actually seen it, but like I know that it starts off with like their car breaks down or something. They knock on someone's door for help, and of course that happens. But yeah, so I thought going in like a lot darker aspects might happen because of, he's capturing people in his house. That's pretty bad. But I didn't know it was going to be under the lens of like, let's have a discussion.
Yeah.
Let's have a real good discussion about this.
Right.
Before we get to any creepy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So the plot, I don't want to make it seem like the one means the plot was bad. It's just not as thrilling or scary.
Yeah.
This is what it kind of boils down to.
Right. And like I said, making the point over and over again, it was kind of like, okay, but like, what's the driving force? Like, aside from like, let's wait him out. Like, they keep trying to agree with him. They keep trying to be like agreeable to whatever he wants to do for the most part. And then like, since he is getting intense with it, they're like, maybe we should try it the other way and just disagree. Just trying to see if something happens.
Right.
What did you have for the villain danger aspect of the rating?
Oof, I actually went back and forth so many times with this one. I initially had it as a 1, and I was like, no, like, this dude is creepy, at minimally is creepy. So I had it as a 2. I'm like, no, this guy's like really messed up. Like, if I were to encounter him and the things he did, I'm like, no, he's a 3. And especially with the whole idea of control, while I kind of had an issue with it, if you think about the power he had over those 2 women, I'm like, that's mortifying. So I was like, yeah, yes. 3. And I would love to obviously hear your thoughts as a woman, because like I'm a guy. So like, but like trying to put myself in that situation, I'm like, yeah, no, that's actually really scary. Like,
oh yeah.
On face value, it's just a guy, but he's like really charismatic, and again, the power he had over them, I was like, ooh.
Right. And yeah, I agree. I gave him a 3. I thought he was just very charismatic, and like the way it was a lot to do with Hugh Grant's performance as well. I'll give him that too. I think if he was just kind of lackluster and, not as charming in that way, then there might have been like a little less creepiness to him. And it would have been like, oh, he's capturing women like we figured. Like,
right.
But then like, since he's like, so like, and then there's no God. And then, by the way, these are all my prisoners. Like, yeah, he gets the 3.
Yeah, exactly. If the performance fell flat, you wouldn't believe it, right? You'd
right.
Be like, okay, sure.
There could be that disconnect, but you could definitely see, like, I'm sure eventually if, things would have gone in his favor, Paxton would have been another prophet too. Like, maybe ideally Barnes too, if we wouldn't have killed her, but he just decided that she wasn't worth his time, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I think the whole thing got screwed up when the prophet kind of gave it away, kind of messed up the plans. I don't think he wanted to, but he's like, well, gotta do that now.
Right. But yeah, like the fact they depend on him. So like because like I said, they're treating him as if he's God because he's forced this control on them. Like when the one lady reaches out their fingers and he clips her nails and then just cuts off the end of her finger. Like, no.
No good.
No good. None of that. So yeah, I gave him the 3.
Did you give the movie your extra bonus point?
I did give him my extra special point because I thought it was a really interesting concept, on face value too. Like before we get into all the dark stuff, before Barnes is killed and everything, it really is just like this tension building conversation, which is, I think, a really interesting dynamic to have it be all based on a conversation about religion and like what your real beliefs are.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you?
Oh yeah, I did. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm not usually like a huge religion type horror movie fan. Like that's the crux of what's happening. But I think the execution was done really well. I loved the characters. I thought like Paxton and Barnes' relationship at the beginning was really well done. I wouldn't say there was like comedy, but at the very beginning they were talking about like
Magnum condoms.
Yeah, and it was like just like a lighthearted conversation.
Yeah. Just to show that they are like still typical girls, even though they have this intense religious background.
Yeah, exactly. And I just thought all the performances were great. It did genuinely freak me out. Like, just like there's always like that deeper, like, what does this all mean thing? Like,
Yes.
and it's like that's scary to think about. And I was like, oh, there's just a lot
Right.
to it. So I definitely gave it that one.
Right. Like, especially when he starts pulling up the whole, like, afterlife situation. Like, I can show you. Like, I can do what no religion can give you, and I'll show you what the afterlife is. And I'm like, no, thanks.
No, I'm good. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. But I do love how they never, like, put a specific, like, you know, it's one religion, really. Like, you know, he's just implying that whatever you allow to affect your beliefs could be controlling you. You should always question it. Like,
yeah. And even so, I think it still did a good job of not necessarily saying, like, you know, don't believe in religion or anything.
right. It doesn't tell you not to. It's
right.
just be aware.
Yeah, it doesn't, like, I didn't think it, like, looked down on any one way. It just,
Right.
like, this is this argument, this is that argument, do with it as you will.
Yeah.
So,
because it's ultimately your choice. That's how I took it.
yeah, for sure. So adding everything up, your overall score was 11 and mine was a 10. I agree with that. It's
Yeah.
definitely up there. It was so unsettling. And if not just for the suspense alone, like, whew, it was a lot.
I know. Just it very well made too. Just like even with the conversations, like there's still that build. So yeah, I liked it a lot. I was worried that you wouldn't like it because of the whole religion aspect, but it was funny too that Silent Hill ended up tying back into religion too. We always do this.
Yeah, I think, I don't like religious movies that like weigh heavy-handed in one direction, or it's like there's this dark force and it's like this is the bad thing, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like this felt very even though like our bad guy was on the side of like it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
And our main characters were obviously very heavily religious. I felt like it still kind of did a good job getting both perspectives. And that I'm fine with. Like, it didn't make anyone, hopefully, didn't make anyone feel bad about anything.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think it's just to warn you that, you know, sometimes these kind of practices can take advantage, and it's really just what you're willing to accept.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Go watch Heretic.
Yeah. I thought it was a fun time.
Oh, so fun.
So fun.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show and listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, giving us a 5-star rating is super helpful. We'll always appreciate it. If you are watching the YouTube version, you could like and comment on this video and let us know what you'd like us to cover next time.
You can find us on social media using 13 Degrees of Screams.
This has been 13 Degrees of Screams, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.